And I'm going to show you how to install the FlexFuel system. And then I'm going to demonstrate to you to show you that when you introduce E85 in the system, you'll be able to monitor that and the car will compensate. This car was running smooth the whole time as the ethanol level increased. What's up, everybody? I am Dean Hoover and welcome to the Hoover Maneuver channel. And today we are back in the shop with some how-to stuff. So, nope, we're not working on that one. Back by popular demand. Okay, so I am really geeking out about this upgrade I'm about to do to the Maverick R. Yes, it's another fantabulous product by Evolution Powersports. And I feel kind of silly because I'm really excited about it. What am I talking about? I am talking about Evolution Powersports' new FlexFuel system for the Maverick R. Here's the components right here. And today we are going to be going through a little how-to video on it and get it installed on the car. Yes, the car has been neglected. I wouldn't say I'm piling things on it. This is the same stuff I had on it from my last trip to Dumont. I do keep it on a tender. Sand tires are still on it, and I'm going to be using those again next weekend. So let me get this area cleaned up. And yeah, we recently switched RVs, went from a 44-foot toy hauler fifth wheel to basically a 35-foot diesel pusher and an enclosed trailer. So I got stuff all over the place. I still got to clean things up. But let's talk more about this FlexFuel system. Motec. Well, yeah, no. Yeah. This is what my previous Motec came in. Obviously, I'm using this container for something else now. So, yes, I have run Motec in the past. I had a 2017 Can Am X3 that I did 3 different kinds of turbos on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kinds of tunes / ECUs on it. Ultimately ended up with the Motec system on it. And if any of you guys have ever dealt with Motec, I mean, it's a great system. It's a great system. But what I had on the 2017 is I had it set up for FlexFuel, meaning could read the alcohol content in the fuel, and it would make adjustments on the fly for you to the ECU accordingly. So probably most of you watching have dealt with flashing your factory, and you know that it is a process. I mean, EVO has really kind of streamlined it with the code shooter system, but if you need to change tunes, it's a process. Stop, wait, plug this in, get on the internet, get the latest tune downloaded, flash it to your system, and away you go again. But you know, you're talking about a 15-20 minute process. The Motec system that I just talked about, it was instant, on the fly. It can make adjustments, and that was pretty exciting. What's different now? Well, the brainiacs at Evolution Powersports, they have figured out a way to make your factory ECU change on the fly instantly. And the best way to utilize that right now is when you're going from a dyno fuel to a corn fuel. Dyno fuel meaning your 91, 93 octane, so on, to corn fuel. Now the ECU will read the alcohol content in your fuel, and it will adjust your tune based upon how much alcohol is in the fuel. What do I mean by that? So currently I run 91 tune or E85 tune. And when I'm running 91, of course I got 91 fuel in the car. When I want to switch to E85, I siphon out as much fuel as I can. And in my X3, I used to disconnect the fuel rail, run the pump a few times, try to flush it out. And then I'd put E85 in the tank, and then I'd try to prime it. But inevitably, there would be a period of time that I would have the E85 tune, and it would burn up the rest of the 91 fuel, or I'd have the 91 fuel and burn up the rest of the E85, and the car would spit and sputter until it got rid of that old fuel, and then it would run great after that. FlexFuel. So when it's reading the alcohol content of your fuel, it knows if you're on dyno fuel, and as you introduce the E85, It will change your tune based upon the mixture of the E85 to your 91 until you're running pure E85. And for some of you, this might be in the weeds, but this is where it's really exciting for me. So as you're mixing it in, it's compensating for the alcohol level, and it's not going to have that spit and sputter in between running the different kinds of fuels. It will basically run on E50, E60, E70, E85, and so on. It'll compensate for the levels, and it's just huge. It's just, I mean, this is to have a factory to be able to do that and not go through a 15-20 minute flash process and not have to siphon every single last bit of fuel out to get when you change fuels. This is just awesome. It's neat stuff. So today's video, what's it about? Well, like I said, we're going to put the FlexFuel system in there. You cannot go buy the FlexFuel system and just make your car swap. No, you got to do all the E85 stuff first. You got to put the rising rate fuel pump in there and so on. On these cars, you don't have to change the injectors for E85. But you got to be all set up for E85 before you do the FlexFuel. But once you get that in there, it's a fairly easy process. I've gone through the instructions. I'm going to show you guys. This is just crazy. It's just crazy to think that you could do this with a factory ECU. It's just awesome. So I'm going to get the car cleaned up, get all this stuff out of here, make everything accessible, and I'm going to show you how to install the FlexFuel system. And then I'm going to demonstrate to you to show you that when you introduce E85 in the system, you'll be able to monitor that and the car will compensate. You won't see the tune changing, but just the fact that you see the E85 level changing and the car still running good, you know that this thing is basically reflashing itself and changing on the fly. So let me get this stuff all cleaned up, and I do have to remove the driver's seat and get access to the center console here. Easy stuff, and we're going to do the install and show you how it goes. We're fast forward about 30 minutes because I had to clean up the shop a little bit. I went ahead and pulled the seat out, and you see some extra wiring here. That's because I have heated and cooled seats. Awesome. Get your seat out, undo your seatbelt harness, pop up your center console, lay that to the side or take it out. I'll lay mine to the side because I have switches in it. And then you're going to want to pop this out. What I recommend is you take this completely off. In order to take this completely off, you've got to pop this front panel out to get to a screw. There's a gold screw that's right here. It's a T30 here, and then this will lift out and give you access. Stand by from that, and this is what we're after right here. Stand by. I use some high pressure air and clean this up a little bit. Why are we in the center console? Well, what we're doing is we're utilizing a factory connection point where we can tie into the fuel rail. This is the fuel rail. Well, it's the fuel lines coming from the gas tank down here and over to your motor. We're going to tie in here with the E85 sensor. This is a same sensor that's used in General Motors cars that you see that have the FlexFuel emblem on them. This is going to snap right into the factory sensor right there. And then what we got to do is we got to cut this back about 2 inches, this factory line right here. And we're going to stuff in this connector, and this connector will snap onto the other side. To do that, I'm going to take off these zip ties right here to give some slack. We're going to pull this blue clip out of there. Do not lose the clip, and pull this apart. Cut this back. It's going to be rather hard to stick this in the hose, and after that's in there, well, before we stick it in there, we're going to put this clamp on there so we can clamp it on real good and get it all together. Let's see how it goes. So obviously I'm wearing gloves because this is where it gets a little messy. Now what we're going to do is this is going to snap in there, and after that snaps in there, then we're going to connect this side using this doodad that it came with, but this doodad has to go inside there. So we're going to cut that down so it all goes in. So this is a straight shot, so it doesn't do much good to put it on right now. It's still going to leak fuel. I don't know. It might slow it down though. Stand by while I change my diapers here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in there. See, it snaps. Put my keyway back in. There we go. Nice and secure. Got the plug facing backwards. So now we can kind of see this is going to be up here like this. And this is about where we need to cut it. To help you out, EVO says cut 2 inches. So I want to have a little bit of slack. That's probably less than 2 inches. That's what EVO recommends. You can always cut more later, right? Okay, very important. Before you put that connector on, make sure you put your clamp on the hose first. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give me a little bit of dielectric grease, put on there so I can slide that on. Okay, for those that don't know, that's dielectric grease. Put a little bit here on the barbs. Why dielectric grease? Well, it's basically kind of inert and it gives you some lubrication. It's good to have inert lubrication. There we go. She's on there. Let's get our clamp on there. We're good there. Put a little protector off, and looks like we're about there. So EVO was right here. I cut a little less. I think you can go a little less than 2 inches. I don't know how much slack you have in the line to pull this up. There it is. Now we're on. We have a sealed connection. No more gas to escape. So I'll get this all lined back up in our holders and get our zip ties on, and then we'll start on the wiring harnesses. That's going to be tucked in the back there. Okay, I got my 9 lines zip tied here. I think just undoing these 2 is plenty, gives you enough to work with. I got my connector pushed back on. Looks like it was never on from the factory. Got my FlexFuel sensor right there. Connector's all good. I feel real good about all that. So let's go talk about the harness itself and what plugs into there. Okay, I showed you the E85 sensor, and obviously you see where the harness is going to plug in. Let's look at the harness. This is what I got from EVO, and we got our little brain right here, some Velcro to mount the brain, and we got this harness here, and you may or may not get this harness. That's for future use, but I'll tell you where that ties in. This is going to hook up to our brain. This is going to hook into our buds port in series there, and this is going to go to our E85 sensor. On this harness, you're going to see this extra pigtail. This pigtail plugs into this, but don't worry about that. There's future plans for that. Just pay attention to this harness right here. What we're going to do, we're going to take this little brain right here on EVO's recommendation, and we're going to put it on top of the body control module. Oh, I can't see the body control modules because I have a Furminator. Hopefully you guys saw that video. Furminator works great in conjunction with the MTS suspension. This is going to go on top. It may not go on top of the Furminator because I'm going to figure out how that's going to mount. But then what we're going to do is we're going to feed the harness down here, come out here, and plug into the E85 sensor. Sorry for that funky camera work right there, but let me get this all ironed out and I'll get you guys back up to speed. Okay, like I said, I've got the Furminator here, so what did I come up with? I'm showing you in case you guys have the Furminator and this wants to work for you. But again, this little box preferred is to sit on top of the body control module down there. I found that I can tuck it right here pretty good, and I'm running the wire back around here and looping down. I might have misspoke earlier when I said your buds is hooked in series. Well, it's hooked in series for when you flash, because again, that's just a holder right there. So that's going to work out real good. And then the E85 plug, looks like I can dive it down right here pretty good and get down the center console. So let me tidy all that up for you. Okay, so like I said, I got this routed around here. I got this in its holder right there for the buds. The excess I've got pushed in here for the buds connector. And then I've got the line right here going to the E85 sensor. It comes straight down. Let me show you the other side. Coming down here, make sure you zip tie your wires so they don't get into the drive line or anything. And come around and we're tying in right there. So let me get this all buttoned up. But you know, I can't wait to button it up. We're on to the next exciting part. Now we're going to flash it. Okay, hold on. Very important step. I told you I'm excited about this thing. I really want to get this FlexFuel going. But before we flash it, and before we start to button things up, we need to make sure we don't have any leaks. So, kind of Can Am 101. What do? We need to hit the ignition, don't start it, and you'll hear the fuel pump run. And we want to cycle a couple times, get up as much pressure as it would normally be. Probably, you know, fuel pump somewhere around 58 pounds or so. Anyway, we're going to look for leaks. See it kind of move a little bit because it got under pressure. Wait a second or two. Don't see any leaks. We're all fired up. Okay. Isn't that beep annoying? That beeps because I have it in neutral. You guys know how annoying that is. Anyway, so no leaks. I'm gonna cycle it again. It's all good. All good. Don't fire it up. Remember, we got this in the system now. So we need to flash it before we fire it up. I think we're all good with the leaks. So I'm going to cut to the next take before I turn it off and you hear that beep again. All right, so if you guys have gotten this far, you've already got a tune from EVO. And if you're smart, you've already got your code shooter. So not necessarily a training on how to do your code shooter, but I'll at least show you what the tune kind of looks like here. So I'm going to get into my code shooter. I've got my connection going on, tapped into the buds connection. Remember, every time, the reason why they did the code shooter with your phone and everything is because you're live with EVO servers. That assures that every time you download or change a tune, every time you change a tune, you're downloading that latest and greatest version of that tune from EVO. So you're not working on a tune that the same tune you used 6 months ago. EVO's constantly making these tunes better when needed. So here's my vehicle. It's got my VIN. Last flash file 91 with launch control, DCT tune, Bing. So we're going to get in and find the tune for this. Pay close attention to that sticker I put on my car. Sorry. We're going to have a slight intermission. I want to explain something about the FlexFuel tune device on your car. Like I said, over and over again, it will detect the amount of basically alcohol in your fuel, the E85% or whatever. What it won't detect is the octane in your dyno fuel. If you're running 91, 93, 95, 96, 100, 110 or whatever, all those previous tunes that were available to you, the FlexFuel sensor will not adjust your tune based upon the different octanes. What it'll adjust your tune based upon the level of alcohol in the fuel. The E, the corn fuel, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I did run 110 in the past, but that was before EVO came out with the E85 tune. Ever since the E85 tune, I've only run 91, which is an E85, which is available to me here in California. By the way, currently in California, 91 runs about $5 a gallon. E85 runs about $2.80 a gallon. There's an advantage to running E85 for me here in California. And it tests pretty good. We have a mild climate, and I do test it. Looking up here at my little tester, this little device, and it frequently comes out at E86 right in there. But now I'm going to have that tester right on my dash, foreshadowing. I'm going to show you that later. Again, when you get the Flex tune, it's going to be tuned for 91 dyno fuel or various levels of corn fuel up to E85. Can you run 110 in it still? You could. It's kind of a waste. It might not even, if you understand octanes, you'll understand that if your car is tuned for 91 and you put 110 in it, it might not run as good as it would with 91. 91 is more flammable than 110. All it has to do with timing, the length of the burn, so on and so forth. Look it up on YouTube, you'll find it. Anyway, we'll get back to the flash here, and I'll show you what it looks like on the code shooter, and we'll start flashing it. All right, so there's my vehicle. There's my existing tune, the 91. Then we're going to go into tuning. And here's all the tunes that are available to me. And I'm looking for a Flex Fuel. Look at there. Stage 5X 85 Flex Dean Hoover. So we look at the details for this tune. Required components: E85 fuel, EVP rising rate fuel, pump assembly, charge shoes, and they recommend the shocker, muffler, blow-off valve, and catch cam. So even though it says E85 fuel, you can run 91 on this. So what are we going to do? We're going to shoot it. And like any other flash, we're just going to go through the paces here. 95%, we're almost there. 97%, 98. Remember, there's two phases to this. You got to download the tune and then shoot the tune or flash it. So there's two phases. All right, so here's confirmation. I've got the Flex tune installed in the vehicle. So what's next? Well, the seat's still out of it. The center console panels are still out of it. So let me put this thing back together, and then we're going to play around with the fuel readings. But here's something interesting. Got my turbo boost gauge, which, as you saw from Jim's preview video, is now reading our ethanol content, and we're at 15%. That could be 15% ethanol because I'm in California and they add ethanol to all of our fuel here. That's why it goes bad after a while. So anyway, let me put this car back together and we're going to play around with some fuel. Okay, the car's back together. And I fired it up a couple times and it is showing 15%. I did have some E85 in here not too long ago. 91 was the last thing I ran on. Remember, E85 and 91 don't mix too well. There could be some residual in there. Long story short, California fuel does have 10% ethanol. This is displaying it as bouncing back and forth between 13 and 15%. So I'm going to fill up the tank with the 85 and I'm going to run the car, and I'm going to show you on the dash how the ethanol level rises. Before I do that, I'm going to test the E85 that I have. It's right out of the pump. So we're going to use this tester right here. So I've got water up to the water line. Excuse me. I'm going to put E85 in there, and I'm going to shake it up, and I'll come back and show you the results. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't do it one-handed. So I got the E85 in there. I shook it up. You see the bubbles settling. And what we're looking for, we're going to look for a separation up here in the E85 range. and after all these bubbles finish going. So give it a few minutes. All right, so here we go. This is the E85 line, and you can see the separation right there. Hopefully that kind of shows up. Hopefully that focuses for you. So it would appear that the E85 I got out of the pump is a true E85. So we'll fire up the car and start filling the tank with the 85 and see what the gauge shows. Okay, just showing you it's on low fuel. Doesn't register. The only thing in there right now is 91. Showing 15%. When I come back, we'll introduce the E85. Wow, 80. That's adding 5 gallons of E85 to a already system already had 91 in it. Probably had a gallon or so in it. But you know, how far do you travel with the fuel light on? Long ways. So I'll put another 5 gallons in here, and we'll see if we get up to E85. But I don't know why. This is exciting to me. Like I said before, I've had Motec with the FlexFuel, and wow, you know, it not only does it change your tune on the fly for 91 versus E85, but all the different levels of ethanol in between. This car was running smooth the whole time as the ethanol level increased. You know, for the guys that been running the E85, and when you change fuel, you know that it spits and sputters for a while until it gets that old fuel out and introduces new fuel for which you have tuned, whether you're going from E85 to 91 or 91 to E85. This thing ran smooth the whole time. I'm excited. So we're going to add 5 more gallons, and we're going to see what our level gets up to. We should get up really close to that E85. Okay, it is now the next day. Like I said, I had to get some more E85, so I got that. I already tested out. It's 85%. It's all good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a cold start for you on E85. It's always cool because it works out great. And then I'm going to start adding more, and we're going to see if that percentage goes up. Cool shot. All right, there we go. We topped off on the meter at 82% ethanol content. Who's to say how accurate they are? The fuel did test out at 85, but man, how awesome is this that I don't have to reflash it every time I go back and forth between E85 and 91. And the car runs great at different ethanol levels in between. It's adjusting for it. It's not running like crap until it gets all that fuel flushed out or whatnot from the 91 to E85 or E85 to 91. Again, it may seem silly to some of you, but this is so freaking awesome. Factory tuning on the fly, essentially, based upon the ethanol content readings from a General Motors sensor, is freaking awesome. And leave it to EVO for being innovative and making this happen. Awesome, guys. This is just over the top stuff right here. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the channel. If you haven't already, please give us a subscribe or share. Really helps out the channel a lot. Really appreciate the support you guys have given us. I'll be taking this thing out for a ride this weekend. We're going to hit the Oceana Dunes for a day ride there. And just wow, you got to get this. If you're set up for E85, you got to get the FlexFuel kit. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next video.